invited Andy McAfee to react on your speech, because you're a profound scientist in European affairs and technological affairs, and of course US affairs. And I know you as a very provocative soul, so I thought it's a good combination.
So I heard, actually, yes, I was a little bit afraid.
Steffi, I think the real reason you invited me is that last one, that I think I have American manners, so that might make things a little more blunt than we're used to. And you're doing me a huge favor by categorizing me as any kind of expert on Europe. I'm not. So when you offered me this opportunity, I accepted, but then I panicked because I don't know very much about Germany or the German economy. And so your first step is to do some frantic basic research and Googling. And I learned two things pretty quickly. I learned that since 2021, you have been the minister responsible for economic affairs.
Yeah, in December, I think the 8th of December, so the end of 2021, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that German precision about the age.
No, because that is important, because if you're not in 2021. Well, I have to tell you, the former German government sold part of our energy infrastructure to Gazprom and to Rosneft, Russian companies. In 2021, you could see that the storages were emptied. Normally, over the summer, where prices are low, gas storages are filled, that you have the gas in the winter. And in 2021, the Gazprom company sold the gas out of the storages to, well, wherever it was needed. So everyone with eyes could see that there's a problem. Why? This is completely, economically speaking, it's just completely nonsense. This is only to be explained that Putin and his proxy company wanted to bring Germany and with that Europe into a weak position where he could blackmail us not to be supportive for Ukraine. Therefore, it's important that I became minister only in December, because I think there's a responsibility that the ones in charge in June and August have not. It was seen, actually, there is a report written in my ministry to the old government, but they just put it aside. So it was detected, it was seen, but it was not put into political action. Therefore, I insist on being only responsible of the last 3 weeks.
Great.
Where I changed the politics.
Great. And so the second thing I learned from my frantic researching was that the German economy has shrunk for each of the past 2 years.
Right.
So I think my first blunt American question is, how do you think you're doing on the job so far?
Well, I have not done enough. That's the
I've never heard a politician say that before.
Yes, but I asked for more, I begged for more, I suggested also more. The shrinking economy, if you look to this more specifically, has basically two reasons. We in Germany, we still have a high energy intensive industry. Not all European countries still have them. Great Britain, for example, in the Thatcher years, lost mainly the energy intense industries, and Germany had it, of course, due to cheap Russian fossil energy. Not only half of our gas supply was coming from Russia, but also half of our coal and 1/3 of our oil supply, which is a commodity good. So you can replace hard coal more easily than pipeline-bound gas, of course. But therefore, we had skyrocketing high prices. And this inflicted basically the production of the energy-intense production, so steel, aluminium, concrete, chemical industries, paper, glass, and so on and so forth. And secondly, the half of the growth of our economy is coming from exports. This is very exceptional. I think China has only a growth dependency on exports from 20%, we have 50, meaning we need open markets. We are selling our goods to the world. We are, I mentioned it, only 84 million people, so 1/5 or so of the American population, and the country is also smaller, but we have a trade surplus to America, so we produce more and sell it to the world. And if markets are closing, if if tariffs are raised, if local content rules are inflicted, then the German economy is vulnerable more than others. So
have those barriers been going up in the past 2 years?
Pardon?
Have those barriers, those trade barriers?
Yes, absolutely. In absolute figures and also in the relative figures to the GDP, the trade barriers are going up. More goods than ever have tariffs, so they are becoming more important. People or countries, governments are protecting their areas. So free trade is like being old-fashioned right now, and the globalization definitely is a tipping point. Now we see geopolitics coming everywhere, and your new government will increase the speed of geopolitics, so definitely they will close or protect the markets. This was also to be seen in the past 2 years, and normally a government would answer to this extraordinary situation with a huge stimulus package, right? Saying, okay, there's a change, now we have to invest more in our own country, repair our bridges, specifically invest more into the new things, digital development, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and fusion. But that was limited due to our fiscal rules, and therefore we did something. I would also say we saved the country from the worst, but we could be in another phase if we gave, let's say, a tax stimulus for investments in Germany to the new techniques that is comparable to the American IRA. That was not possible to agree on due to the German debt brake.
Great. So you did a lovely job and a very helpful job of summarizing the current German economy for me, right? Very based on heavy industry and energy-intensive industry,
yes.
Heavily based on exports. I think I understand that. Back up and tell me a broader story. Help me understand why Germany and the German economy are not larger players on the global stage of the digital era. It's certainly not because you lack well-educated people or great universities. What's going on?
Well, this has political reasons, as the fiscal rules I just mentioned, new investments, now public investments or the framework, meaning also less taxation are expensive. Look to the debt figures of the American budget. You are 120 or where are you standing? The German has only half of the debt. I'm not a fan of debts, of course, but you have to be aware that all the other countries are using their fiscal power to make companies invest into their economy. That's just a description. And I think there the German government could do more. So it's a technical question, how much innovation we want to have in some years, and then how much revenues we get in the next year. So just some explanation, another explanation. The German debt brake is saying that the budget must be balanced within the year. Okay. And that is the problem.
Are you giving me a budgetary answer to the question of German technological?
That is only part of it. The real answer is that I would say hybris is the problem. Europe and Germany, and I would guess also the other European countries, as liberal democracies, tend to look only inside. Yes, because we are Europe, we had been the largest economy in the world, powers and so on and so forth. We are very, very well prepared to give ourselves internal rules. So the European Union is a great controller and developer of rules for the single market, but maybe not the biggest player on the world scene. Because, this has a reason, because we think the normal development will always in the end come to our benefit. So we became lazy in a way. We have not seen that nobody is waiting for us, and this is overestimation, or in some sort of. So if you look into the figures of innovative investments, both the public sector and the private sector have lost innovativeness in the past 20 years. Compared to the US, compared to China.
Let me sharpen
that means
it's really hard to get a politician to stop talking and listen to you for the next question. Everyone is an expert, but hold on. So I'm going to be rude because you brought up something really important and I want your opinion on it. Do you think, for example, that the EU has overregulated the tech sector so far?
Yes, it has.
Yes.
Yes.
What
so, yes, not regarding the aims. So, I give you an example, I don't know, about textile. I don't know, I guess everyone would agree in this audience that we don't want to have child labor or forced labor into our shoes, socks, trousers, and maybe the seats we're sitting on. Nobody wants this. And therefore, yes, and also not forced labor and deforestation and so on and so forth. So I think the aims, the goals are good. And it's good that Europe is a first mover in these things. Other countries don't care so much about it and sometimes use forced labor or deforestation or whatever as a business model. So this is not something we should not question. This belongs to our value system, and I'm the biggest defender of our value system. But what we are doing now is reporting if the standards are controlled. So in part of being reporting if my shoes or socks are produced in a fairly manner, I would completely be fine if there's a rule we don't want to have forced labor in our socks, and if there's someone who's producing socks or shoes or whatever with forced labor or deforestation, well, then they have to go to court, or they are brought to court and have to pay a price, and this is responsibility. So we don't need, from my point of view, a reporting about responsibility, but stick to the responsibility of our society goals and political values. And there we took the wrong path in a way. But of course, this has also a price for all the business leaders who are now applauding. Well, you have to do the job. You have to go to your whatever sewing fabs in Bangladesh and look to the people who are working there. And if they have bloody hands and small children are sitting there, then you have to change it. And if you're not doing it, you will definitely pay a high price and maybe lose all your income, because this is then forbidden. So reporting is in a little bit less aggressive. Therefore, I think it was also wished by the economic side. But complaining about reporting and not being responsible is not working. So either way or the other.
So you and I, in our remarks, we both brought up something else that is not working as well as it probably should be in the EU right now, which is venture capital and private venture capital investment. If you and I come back in 5 years and have this conversation again, and there has been a huge leap, a huge increase in venture capital investment in that 5 years, why? What will you do to bring it to increase it a lot?
Yeah, first, a lot of companies have a lot of data. As I pointed out, the technique of the last century, automotive, machinery, and so on and so forth, we had a very, very strong position. It's not that there's no competition there, Tesla and the Chinese cars, of course, but the data is there. So maybe the fight about ChatGPT is lost. I don't know. The race is maybe lost. But all the other artificial intelligence programs are possible to develop in Europe. So therefore we need our own approach. We don't have the one big European automotive company, but we have several, 20. Combine them, bring them together, shape an open source ecosystem, and then the companies can learn from each other without losing their data. So this is a very specific European approach, but this is the way forward. Then, of course, we need to scale it up. So that is what we tried, but maybe not successful until now. Because
what's going to be different in the future?
Yeah, but I accept, other than the American money market, the German money market or the European money market is too small, it's fragmentized. Therefore, yeah, you're right, we need the capital market union, and the discussion is now maybe 10 years old or so. Well, this is too long, it takes too long, everything takes too long. But
let me be a little more specific. Think of the top 10 venture capital firms in the world right now.
Yes.
Relatively few of them have a sizable presence in the EU right now. What will it take to change that?
Well, first of all, the capital market union is about that the banks that are in Europe can give loans to each other on the same system. And the political problem is that the debt rate in Europe is so different. Germany has only 60% and Italy has, I don't know the right numbers, 150 or so. I guess France 120. This is without their nuclear fleet, which is also a state company and is adding another 50 or 60 billion as a debt to the state budget. And therefore, the fear of the countries who have a better fiscal situation is saying now we have to guarantee for the weaker banks. Therefore, it all takes so long and is so complicated. But as a German, I can say from our own history, if Germany is willing to go a little bit further than our own short-term interest is, then Europe comes into action. So it will belong to the German government to make capital market union and the banking union happen. So and this is only going to happen if we are doing a little bit more than we think is for our own interest, that the bigger interest is coming back then, and then we profit. So Germany has to lead from the second row, I would say, not being the one. Everyone has to do the same as we are doing in our banking system. This is not going to happen. They can't do it in France and in Italy and so on and so forth. But helping to make it happen and then have a prosperous economy in Europe. This is always benefiting for Europe. This I learned actually from the conservative chancellors of the past. I never voted for Helmut Kohl, and I was not born when Konrad Adenauer was chancellor. But that was always the way forward, that they pushed a little bit back the short-term German interest. Then Europe developed, leapfrogged to the next step, invented the euro, where something similar happened. Germany guaranteed with its own Deutsche Mark, which was a kind of the strongest symbol of the Wiederaufbau of the Second World War.
And then we have time for given how thorough your answers are.
Yes.
I think we have time for one more question.
No, 2 or 3.
My favorite description of the process of innovation actually comes from a German-speaking economist, Joseph Schumpeter, who characterized, and I'm sure you know this, as a process of creative destruction.
Yes.
Everybody loves the creative part. The destruction part can become a lot more difficult.
Not, yes.
So my question for you is Germany willing to let its iconic companies fail if they can't keep up?
No, I don't think so.
No.
And of course, there's a third answer. Also, the iconic companies can change. So ThyssenKrupp is producing steel, and this is definitely one of the iconic companies, by burning coal. This will never be the future. In 20 years, maybe I guess in 7 or 8 years, you can't sell black steel to the world market as the US, as China, but also some European countries, Sweden, for example, are producing now green steel, so they are further than we are. But of course, we have the possibility to transform the companies. In the end, of course, also big companies can fail, but if you are asking me, do I wish failure?
No, don't wish it, but will you allow it to happen if they can't keep up?
I'd like to give them the chance to adapt to the new reality. But a new reality must be adapted to, and the political debate, we are in an election campaign, is more or less how fast should we adapt to the new reality. I'm promoting the fastest track possible, and because I would say if Germany and Europe has not one problem not, it's being too fast. So we have to be faster, so not to lean back.
All right, thank you. We have time for, I think, one more final question. I have heard you speak about a reform backlog, a lot of reforms that need to happen. If we gave you the magic DLD wand, and you got to wave the magic wand and instantly have 3 reforms of your choice, what would they be?
I would invent into German politics a tax credit system, as the IRA is. So first investment, then you have the guarantee that you can get some of the invested money back, and then regulation. This is but only possible if we change the rules of the debt brake, because if you have a successful investment program with a tax credit system, you never know how successful it is. And then it might be the case that because it's successful, the budget is not balanced. So we are doing not the promising and successful things because our rules of the 0 years in another time, in another situation where we had a a growing globalization, no war in Europe is hindering us to doing, I would say, the reasonable thing. That is the only thing I would ask for. So this is actually two things: inventing a tax credit system and modernizing, I would say, the German debt brake. And the third thing has nothing to do with laws. You can write a law that is ordering optimism to people. but we will not solve a single problem if we are not willing to face the problem and work for it. And that is of course due to COVID-19 and the war in Russia and the recession we facing now 2 years and the high inflation rates. That is the general feeling of the people in Germany. Oh, everything is going to shatter and China's taking over and now Donald Trump, oh no. And everyone is roaring to each other, and the ones who are searching for solutions and are not willing to roar, they're just shying back, and in the end the political debate is dominating by the ones who are roaring.
So your third reform
and the ones who are silencing.
Your third reform is optimism.
Yes.
I think that's I think it's a beautiful note to end on.
Go to the place and play to win.